What is up, everybody? We are Cinema 3D, and today we have a very special video prepared. We are currently at the complete opposite ends of the world right now. I am joined by Justin and John, also of Cinema 3D, currently in Spain, while I am here in the good old US of Florida. So, how are you guys doing over there right now?
Doing well, as good as we can be.
Yeah, pretty much. Can't wait to come home.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we miss doing some in-person videos, but this is great in the meantime. So we kind of came up with a quick sort of impromptu list that we wanted to talk about, and it was just an interesting topic, an interesting thing to think about, which is what are the 5 characters that have had the greatest impact on our life? So these are all fictional characters. They can be from any medium, whether it be film, television, video games, literature, whatever the route may be. These are the 5 created characters that have influenced us and had the greatest impact on our life. So this was a really fun one to think about, just because obviously everybody has a favorite character. They all have things that are very important to them, very meaningful to them. And this is just us sharing the different influences and the different creations that have really made a difference and impact in our lives. And we want to honor those characters and the legacy that they have and that they've brought to us. So I think we're just going to pretty much get going and get started. Justin, do we know who's going to be kickstarting this thing?
Yeah, we're
Right.
using a randomizer, so let's see who goes first. Oh boy. It is John.
Ah, yes.
Very good, man.
in the test for this, John won, and now
Yeah.
John won again.
So definitely after John goes, we'll re-click the randomizer and see who goes between me and you. But you have the floor.
Okay, so my number 5 is a famous cartoon character. That is Bugs Bunny.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
I mean, what's there to say, man? He is the most iconic Looney Tunes character. The Looney Tunes and Warner Brothers, they have tons of great characters. You have Daffy Duck and all these other characters. But like, what's the one that like everybody knows? What's up, Doc? The most iconic line. It's Bugs Bunny. He's so freaking awesome. He's chill. He's smart. He's just a great character. And I think we all as kids really gravitate to him. And even as an adult now, I look to him as being really mellow and just kind of vibing. I love his character. And yeah, Bugs Bunny is my number 5. Phenomenal.
John, awesome way to kickstart that. That's fantastic. I was not expecting this guy to be rolling out with a Looney Tune.
Yeah, I was definitely not expecting that either. It was something totally different, but
Happy to be here, boys.
All right, so randomizer, here we go. See, it goes between me and Sam. Hope it's Sam. Look at that. It is Sam.
It is me.
It is Sam. Yep.
I am all right. I'm ready. So, number 5 for me is a character that is going to represent a huge part of my entire life, from a time period that I can't even remember until now, as I talked about in one of our previous videos, and that is a character from the Star Wars franchise, rolling out with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan has been my favorite character from as long as I can remember watching Star Wars. When I was 1, Phantom Menace came out, so I grew up with Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, watching them come out, and Obi-Wan was the most impactful character in those movies, and that transcended into the original trilogy with him being the most impactful character. Made me really like the type of, I guess, the archetype of a character, of this dude antagonist, of this friend character who is always looking out for his best friend in that type of scenario. A lot like Samwise from Lord of the Rings. I love those type of characters. It's something that I almost try to, I think, design myself after because of a character's influence like Obi-Wan and that loyalship that he shows throughout all the movies, from the prequels onto the originals, looking out for the son, training him, and moving forward. And I think he's just the most badass character that Star Wars has ever produced, especially with Ewan McGregor's portrayal. I don't think anybody tops him in the series. So number 5 as a whole representative for Star Wars, well, that's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
As always, it's great to hear Sam talk on a podcast. So, I guess it's my turn. This is my number 5 pick, is the one that I was debating heavily because it is probably the most recent pick out of all 3 of us that any one of us would pick. But I thought about it for a little bit of time, and I feel like he deserves to be mentioned from my end. It is Homelander from The Boys. It's a very much recent thing that I've witnessed. I think I watched season 1 in 2021 or 2020. I don't even know. 2021. I think that's when it was. But I mean, it's just like 3 seasons in. There's a 4th season coming out. He is such a phenomenal actor. I think breakout star in this role. Like, he's a villain that you can attach to in a very weird way. He's got a way of, like, you never know what he's gonna do, and it's not someone that I would emulate myself after per se, like, you know, you said with Obi-Wan, and not you with Bugs Bunny, but like, just those are very uplifting characters. Mine is the complete opposite, but like the way the character is executed with the plot of the Boys itself, and just Anthony Starr just going off. I just watched an interview with him and Carl Urban right before we did this podcast, and he was talking about how the creators of the show just kind of let him do the script, but they let him go off script because the character itself is so random, and he loves playing that because he can literally say whatever and it still works with the storyline. And I don't know, it's such a recent pick that I'm almost scared to say it, but I think in 5 to 10 years, he's going to be held as one of the greatest villains we've witnessed on TV and film of all time. Like, I'm just saying that right now. So Homelander is my pick for number 5 as most impactful. Just, I don't know. I think about him a lot with villains like the Joker and people like that, where they're just so crazy, you just can't get them out of your mind. So Homelander, number 5.
Fantastic choice. That's really good.
Yeah.
No, he's the best part of The Boys, hands down.
Yep.
It's fantastic. So John, we're gonna be rolling over to you now for number 4.
Okay, so number 4 for me is a character from a franchise that I grew up on. He has definitely become an icon. The actor himself is a freaking icon, and it's literally one of the best performances that he's ever done. Obviously, the sequels are debatable. I mean, it's highs and lows, but at least the first 2 are phenomenal, and I just love this character because I love cyberpunk and sci-fi. That character is the Terminator. I mean, listen. I mean, what is there to say? I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger and James Cameron just created a character that is just unstoppable, an unstoppable force that will kill you no matter what, and have no sympathy. You can't reason with him, bargain, or anything. He will not stop until he kills you. And I just love that the first Terminator film bridges the gap. I mean, we've already talked about it, but it bridges the gap between sci-fi and a slasher, and it's amazing. And then out of nowhere, you have the twist of the second film of the Terminator now being pretty much a good guy, but still being a force to be reckoned with and a machine, a killing machine. But he has these charms especially some of these Arnold Schwarzenegger charms as well that have become iconic. And yeah, it's just a fascinating design, a fascinating character, if you can call him a character, which I think he is. Um, the way he moves, the way he operates, the fact that it's a human playing a machine, and he really moves like a machine. And his eyes, the eyes is what really gets me when Arnold's scanning through, like, and really locked on target. It's just phenomenal, and it's literally one of the reasons why I love cyberpunk. I love science fiction. Why I love science fiction, and also why I love cyborgs and robots because of the Terminator. Watching it as a kid, I was fascinated. And there you go.
Yeah, that's a solid pick because I remember when we did our was it the 80s episode?
Yeah.
Episode 2. I did a poll where it was like the Here's Johnny versus I'll Be Back. And I was genuinely shocked that both on Instagram and TikTok I'll Be Back won. Because like people were just like, dude, it's no question. I'll Be Back is more iconic than Here's Johnny. And I was just like, holy crap, I didn't realize how many people love Terminator. Like,
Sure.
Schwarzenegger and James Cameron just knocked it out of the freaking park with that movie and the sequel.
Yeah, I agree.
So many iconic lines from Terminator 1 and 2. I mean, Hasta la vista, baby. I'll be back. No, that's a fantastic choice. I knew he was going to be represented somewhere on your list, but I'm intrigued because I just don't know which one's coming. But I know your love of that franchise, so that's awesome.
If that's number 4, then those 3 have got to be like freaking up there.
You never know.
So, my number 4, and this made it very interesting because of John. Extremely interesting, actually, because I was not anticipating this. And I'm actually glad John's choice for number 5 was this, because it complements my number 4. Because my number 4 out of the top 5 most impactful characters of my entire life is actually another animated character from the most influential animated series of my life. But it's not Bugs Bunny. We are going Daffy Duck.
Do it.
For number 4. So, being with, I think Looney Tunes was probably my all-time favorite series growing up for my entire life. And I think it really helped me develop my love of comedy and my love for meta humor as well. And all of that was found in those classic cartoons. You watch them even today. They're just some of the best comedy ever written. They're hilarious. They always deliver. And I think the character of Daffy Duck is maybe one of the best cartoon characters ever created. He was always my favorite from the get-go, from a time when I was young. And I grew up in a time when Looney Tunes was still a huge deal, just coming off of Space Jam. I remember when Looney Tunes Back in Action came out. Grew up with Baby Looney Tunes as well as the Duck Dodger series that we both love as well. And you always need Daffy with Bugs. And the comedy comes from Daffy's failure. And I think I can relate to that a little bit, because the guy he keeps trying so hard and it's not working out. But you gotta love, because the character never gives up. And so same thing as Obi-Wan. I think I got where Daffy was coming from growing up. And I think that character, as well as using him as a representative for all of Looney Tunes, gave me a love for comedy that has never dwindled. And so that's why that character is represented at number 4.
Man, that is awesome.
Very nice.
I never really, I mean, I knew you loved Daffy Duck that much, but I never really thought you would pick that character over someone like Bugs Bunny. Just because Bugs is like the Iron Man to the MCU, you know? Like,
Bugs is one of the greatest characters ever created. But you just gotta feel for the underdog here.
Yeah.
No,
absolutely. Yeah, I remember watching Baby Looney Tunes a lot. I think I've seen that probably more than some of the original Looney Tunes, which probably sounds heretical, but like that's just what was on TV at the time.
And Duck Dodgers is amazing. We'll talk more about that down the road, I hope. But that is phenomenal. I can't wait to revisit that franchise, that series. Hopefully, whenever I can actually see it, because it's very difficult to find it. I really need to watch it. I loved it. I love tuning in. Every time I found out Duck Dodgers episodes coming out, I'm like, Duck Dodgers? Hell yeah. Let me watch them. I'm going to definitely watch this.
It's a shame. It's such an underrated series from that whole era. I mean, I think
Max,
Warner.
Max, where you at, man?
No, seriously, give us some give us some Duck Dodgers, because that show was, I think, probably one of the best of that whole. I think it was on Cartoon Network for sure, and it was also on Boomerang. But that was probably one of the best shows from that era.
Boomerang.
Yes.
Boomerang. It's all coming back.
Boomerang back. Hashtag bring Boomerang back.
They brought back Toonami, so bring back Boomerang.
They did bring back Toonami. I know. That's awesome.
Boomerang was the shiz, man. That thing had all the shows I love on it. And that's a good segue into my pick. My fourth pick is an animated character. One beloved by many, especially me. This is probably the show that I watched the most as a kid, especially on Saturday mornings. Great mix of comedy, horror elements, and just overall just fun is Scooby-Doo. Like, I mean, all 5 of those characters are so wonderful to watch interact with each other, but Scooby-Doo being the freaking, like, the name on the show, like the branding, it's just barely even says a word, but you just feel so much for him, and it's just great to see those. We watched an episode, like, I think a year ago all together, and it was phenomenal. Like, I would watch any of those with my kid, and I would be just as happy as if I was watching a live-action Batman show right now. So, I don't know, there's not much more to say than I watched that show the most. I feel so attached to it. Just like you guys with Bugs and Daffy, that was my show. Like, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Scooby-Doo, the original Scooby, all the Scooby-Doos. I haven't watched the new Velma. I'm probably never going to, because I heard it's kind of crap. But all the classic Scooby-Doo series is what I love. And yeah, that's my fourth pick. I had to get an animated pick in there, and I think that was a good solid pick for me. So
very nice.
Shout out to Warner Brothers, Turner Entertainment for shaping our childhood here.
Oh yeah,
with these characters.
Also, the freaking live action Scooby-Doos.
Yeah, we gotta talk about at least the first Scooby-Doo. We will have to talk about down the road as far as nostalgia and like the 2000s and how 2000s that movie is.
Yeah,
we'll definitely talk about that. And written by, not directed by, but written by James Gunn.
No, I just thought about that now. Like that is if anything, that is a fun time.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah,
I would agree. Okay, so number 3 for me is a character that I didn't necessarily grow up with, but as an adult, I quite enjoy so much. I think everybody, as far as men, want to kind of be like him. And he is the most suave character and badass character with complexities as well. And he's overall freaking cool. So my number 3 is James Bond. After watching with all of you guys, after watching pretty much all the James Bond movies, from Sean Connery all the way to Daniel Craig, I just can't get enough of this character. I love James Bond so much. I mean, him just being suave, smart, sexy, the women love him, the gadgets, the action, the spectacle with him, and how he is able to just, defeat the villains and think on his feet, but also being rough and tough. But at the same time, after being rough and tough, he comes in there, fixes his hair, his tie, and it's like, excuse me. And, it goes into his suaveness. And I just love it. And it's like what every man wants to be. And I believe that James Bond is an amazing character.
Yeah. Even a lot of movies want to be James Bond.
Yes,
I mean,
very
Mission
much
Impossible,
so.
John Wick, Jack Reacher, Jack Ryan, all those other Johnny English.
Yeah, Batman. There's some Batman
Batman.
movies too. Like, yeah, for sure.
Even
Yeah.
Indiana Jones to an extent.
Yeah, very much so.
Mhm.
Yeah, James Bond is definitely very important for pop culture.
That is another pick I did not.
You're welcome.
I could see that one more than Bugs Bunny, but I also did not expect that one.
You're welcome. Awesome.
Well, that is a great choice. My number 3 is we're going to be going with another childhood character. I would have to say this character was probably the most important character to me in my childhood. And it was introduced to me in the video game world. But that character, and they're already laughing because they know it's that is Sonic the Hedgehog as my number 3. Yes, growing up, my pretty much all-time favorite thing to do was play the Sonic games on the Sega Genesis. And then they're still my favorite games to play. I just got done playing the new Sonic Origins. It was phenomenal. I'm not even a big gamer, but just those games from my childhood, they're great. And grew up watching the Saturday morning cartoon as well on Jetix. It was called Sonic X. That one was one of my favorites. And then I just grew up with all of the 90s cartoons. The comics was the most consistent comic book that I ever read. So this character pretty much in every medium had an impact on my life. And it was my thing as a child, was the Sonic games and the Sonic series. That was my all-time favorite thing. So you can imagine when the movies came out, I was the first one there to see it. And I loved it. Second one especially, I thought it was phenomenal. Jim Carrey's performance in these movies was just so fun, and it just took me back to what I grew up with. And it was one of the first times that I was introduced to a character outside of film and then saw them take this character and adapt it to film. And it was just such an exciting experience to see. So this character will always be a huge part of my life, and that is why he's at number 3.
Yeah, that's really great to hear because normally whenever you hear video game adaptations, they usually kind of suck. And
Right.
you being the Sonic fan you are, when I heard that you liked the first Sonic movie, I was like, freaking what? And the second one, like to have two movies back to back that you actually love and loving the second one even more than the first one is just kind of insane to me.
Nice.
Second one was, yeah, it was way closer to the games, and I was just seeing these levels literally brought to life that I had played a million times as a kid, so that was super exciting.
Nice. That's insane. Okay, number 3 for me. Sam would definitely have no idea about what character this is. I mean, you'll have an idea, but you don't have any weight to it. John, you'll have half of the show's weight. I wanted to put him at number 2, but I couldn't because number 2 needed to be at number 2. But number 3 is the greatest television character ever put to screen from the greatest show ever put on screen, Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead. It's so hard to talk about this character because I've only seen the show once. That's how good it is. Granted, it just finished season 11, its final season, like less than a year ago. I'm gonna rewatch it again, but I don't know, from start to finish, season 1, he's this nubile cop who finds out that he's in an apocalypse. He just woke up from like a coma pretty much, and by the end of his arc in the show, he is this brooding, doesn't really care about anyone but his immediate family, doesn't take crap from anyone. He will literally shoot you in the face if you say one bad thing to him. Going from like beginning to end, like just the character development of that show, regardless what people think about the pacing, I think the show is phenomenal. I think his character specifically is one of the best characters on television ever. And I feel very attached to him. I didn't grow up watching him, but I started when I was in like middle school area. And from then till now, that's a decade. So I consider that to be one of the most impactful performances I've ever seen in my life. And yeah, Rick Grimes, hashtag GOAT, man. He's great. I would encourage people to, if you haven't finished watching The Walking Dead, continue and give it a chance, or if you haven't tried it at all, just give it a chance because it's just such a good story. And every story has its ups and downs, and you just got to get through those valleys to get to the highs. So, yeah, Rick Grimes, number 3.
Awesome choice. I was waiting for that one to enter because I knew he was going to be on your list. I just didn't know where.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's so I've never seen the show. Don't know actually. I don't think anything about the character except for the description you just gave.
Yeah. I mean, I love zombie stuff. I would consider zombie stuff a genre, and that's one of my favorite genres. That's just who I am. I've seen so many zombie shows, and a lot of them are garbage, but this one is the best thing I've ever witnessed. So, yeah. I've never read the comics. I'm scared to dabble into the comics because, like, I know I would love them. Yeah, there's just a lot of great characters, but he's definitely the best from the show. So,
Awesome choice. John, you're number 2.
number 2, man.
Okay,
This is nerve-wracking.
number 2 is a character that I think everybody can find inspiring. Yes. He is just an icon, an inspiration, and somebody that, just gets in there and has all heart, even when all the odds are against him, and just comes out victorious. That is the character of Rocky Balboa.
Not what I was expecting. That's awesome.
Very nice. Yeah, man. There's just Rocky Balboa is literally one of the best characters ever written. And yeah, there's something about him, man, that just him being going against the odds and just coming at every fighter and really coming at you, taking all the punches, being knocked down and coming back up and this and that. It's very metaphorical and very motivational. And yeah, Sylvester Stallone just killed it right in this character. And it's just one of the best. And I love all the Rocky movies. Yes, including 5 to an extent. Rocky Balboa is a perfect send-off in the Creed films. But the first film, that's the one that's just the peak right there. And yeah, Rocky Balboa, phenomenal.
That is an awesome choice. So this is obviously a hard list to make, but number 2 is going to be a character that helped shape my love for this specific genre, and that really helped me get into this genre as much as I did in the first place. Came out when I was 9 years old, and it was a character I was able to follow for an entire decade. And I was able to grow up watching this character, and is, in terms of film roles go, my favorite film character of all time, and that is Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark, Iron Man.
Right.
Yeah, when Iron Man came out, that movie quite literally, I would say, changed my life. When the original Iron Man came out, I mean, kickstarting the MCU, but just to see a character that badass, and it made me really, I remember even when I was 9, just loving the character development I saw in that movie with this character. And then as I watched every MCU movie come out, that was such an exciting thing, because normally everything had already been out that I was getting into, but this was something that was continuous and coming out and ended when I was 19 or 20 with Endgame. And so to have my entire life growing up watching this all the way to that moment, it really was like an open closed chapter for me of a character. And Iron Man is what defined the MCU for me and defined Marvel for me, and really helped me get into superheroes as much as I did. So, and then also he's just so cool. I mean, Tony Stark is the coolest character, one of the coolest characters to be put to screen. So naturally that is my choice for number 2.
Very nice. Iconic.
Yeah. Number two for me is a character that out of all five, I have probably competing with Scooby-Doo. I've seen the most since I was little. I remember watching a lot of this character with my dad. Um, Probably every single month. I mean, it was always on TV. Uh, it's hard to talk about it now because someone already mentioned it, but Rocky Balboa.
Wow.
So yeah, everything John said is factual. All the films, I love them. I haven't seen latest Creed 3, but based on Creed 1 and Creed 2, they're great. I love Rocky, the original, the most. Uh, Rocky 2, Rocky 3 are great. Rocky 4, I have a huge soft spot. I know that's not rated as much, and also Rocky 5, but I just think they're all great. And Rocky Balboa, like you said, phenomenal send off. Stallone does a great job. Every single film you watch that and you feel like you're with him in the ring, no matter what the situation is. You almost feel like you are Rocky Balboa when you're watching those movies. And by the end of the movie, with the music, the emotion, everything, you're just like you can feel your heart racing, and I get emotional, especially in Rocky, the original, like and then the whole aspect of the love story with Adrian, the relationship with Paulie, like there's so many levels to just something that started with just like this. I don't even know what you would call it, like a I don't want to say grindhouse, but like it was just a grimy original movie, like low
Very much
budget
indie film.
indie film. Like it's just if going from where he started with that to coming up to all the way Creed 3, he's not even in it, and someone else is continuing the legacy of that character. Like it's just insane. Um, yeah, Rocky Balboa holds a huge weight in my life, and yeah, he's one of the greatest characters film has ever witnessed. So he's my number two pick. So before we get into our number one pick of our top five most impactful characters of all time, we're gonna list some honorable mentions. I have five. Number one, Optimus Prime. There's nothing much to say. What's his name?
Peter Cullen.
Peter Cullen. Yeah, iconic voice actor. Um, Optimus Prime, man. I grew up watching Transformers and all the films. Great character. Aragorn, iconic Lord of the Rings character. I would have loved to put him in my top five, but I just felt like the other ones had an edge. Negan, also from The Walking Dead, villain, very much like Homelander. You never know what he's gonna do. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, phenomenal casting for that role. Jack Torrance, I grew up watching The Shining. Ironically, it was a horror, tense, thriller film, but my dad let me watch it. And lastly, a more recent pick, John Wick. Similar to James Bond, it's just a manly man. Every dude wishes he could be him. Those are my honorable mentions. John?
All right, my honorable mentions are definitely Superman, Godzilla. Grew up with Godzilla. Kaiju fan for life. Han Solo, for sure. Daffy Duck, actually. I mean, he's right there next to Bugs Bunny, man. Duck Dodgers as well, bro. Love that stuff. And then, finally, Optimus Prime. I would agree with you too. I mean, I grew up with Transformers as well, like OG stuff too. Especially the films as well. I love Peter Cullen. I love Optimus Prime. Those are my honorable mentions.
And so for mine as well, I'm going to go with, as John already mentioned, we're going to go with Bugs Bunny as one of them. We're also going to be throwing in just all four of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because I can't really pick one favorite at the moment. In addition to those, we're going to also throw in Superman, Doc Brown from Back to the Future, my tentative favorite movie of all time. We'll wait for the list though. And then as a fifth choice, I'm probably going to go with the Mouse from the House. As those are my five honorable mentions for sure.
Very fitting.
Sweet. So now we got to list our number one pick of our most impactful character of all time.
Number one pick for most impactful character of all time. Now, we all kind of knew what it was going to be going into it, but this solidified it just in case. So I'd say we all just go around, name our character, and then we'll say what we love about this particular hero. So Justin, who is your favorite character of all time?
Favorite character of all time, none other than Batman. Uh, so many iterations, all done so phenomenally well. If I had to talk about one that I know you guys aren't going to talk about specifically, Arkham games, the video game aspect of Batman, probably the greatest trilogy you could ever think of. Going from Arkham Asylum, Arkham City to Arkham Knight. I mean, it's just the world building is phenomenal. Kevin Conroy voicing Batman again, Mark Hamill voicing the Joker. The whole world is just so rich with the rogues gallery of all the villains, like from low class villains like Calendar Man and Polka Dot Man to freaking Joker, Penguin, Harvey Dent. All that stuff is delved into so richly. Rocksteady did a phenomenal job. And that's just one iteration of Batman. I mean, you guys are definitely going to talk about more Ben Affleck's Batman, Bale's Batman, Pattinson's Batman. I feel like any iteration of Batman we're going to get, there's something great to pull out of it. Even the crappy ones, like people don't like Clooney. There is some good stuff that he did there. So he's just a character like James Bond that has been done with so many different actors and can go on for generations to generations and will still be loved. So that's why he's my number one pick.
Awesome choice. John, your number one pick of all time?
Well, I think for me, I connected with Batman on a emotional and psychological level. The loneliness that he feels, that he delves into and accepts, definitely hits home for me. The ability to go above everybody else, against everybody else, because he feels he's right and he feels like he's doing good, that just hits home for me. The fact that he's just a man and that he's able to use his brain to take down anybody, including Superman himself. The fact that he has no fear, I feel like resonates with all men. The fact that he just also looks cool, man. Gothic, operatic, you know. Anybody can play Batman. Anybody can be Batman. And I think that's what makes Batman special. The brooding, the loneliness, being a vigilante, but also being a hero, I think inspires many. And that's why Batman is my number one choice.
Fantastic. And my number one choice is Batman as well. For me, I mean, both of you guys described the character so well. I'm just really just adding on John with the entire just description of the characteristics of Batman. That was phenomenal. But for me, just the impact of the character in my own personal life, something that most characters don't have a chance to do, because the character has been able to reintroduce himself in my life over and over again in different iterations, and somehow can just hit home and be my favorite character of all time with this iteration. And it's one of those great things that, like you said, it doesn't matter who's playing him. When the cowl goes on, you just see Batman, and it's great. And then it's just whatever actor or whatever performance honors that character the greatest. So I was introduced to Batman at an early age, getting me literally into superheroes from the get-go with both Batman 89 and Batman Forever. I owned both of those on VHS, and those were my two movies that solidified me loving superheroes. Batman was the character that would always have been my favorite growing up, and I wouldn't have gotten into the even Marvel side of things without Batman. I wouldn't have gotten into any of this without Batman. And I think overall, my overall love for film and cinema was really a big chunk of it was due to films like Star Wars, Back to the Future, and Batman 89, and even Batman Forever. Two extremely influential films for me. And then we move on to another step with the Dark Knight trilogy. When all of that's coming out, I'm now brought into learning more about the character's lore, learning how incredibly badass of a character Batman can be, and already having a preset love for the character just elevated it even further. And now the reason Batman also wins is these different characters, some may be from childhood, some might still love today, but I think Batman is the only character on this list that I'm just constantly watching, no matter what period of my life. Batman is always being watched. Currently, I am just finished in its entirety for the first time, Batman the Animated Series. And if the character wasn't already my favorite, this solidified it being my favorite version of Batman I've seen, being the best superhero I've ever seen put to screen with this character, and just has left a massive impact on my life and all three of ours. So that's why this character deserves the top spot on this list and most lists probably for a character.
Yeah, it's I mean, you really think about all the iterations of Batman, like we've talked about it plenty of times before, but campiness from Adam West, the dark of some of the animated films, but also Ben Affleck's version, the like originality of the 89s, and just the epicness of Nolan's version. It's just like there's so many different facets of it. Timeless character, and like I said, it's gonna go on for generation to generation. And I don't think, regardless if superheroes end up fading away, I don't think Batman is going to. He's just that good.
The timeless character that can always be retold.
Yeah.
Generation after generation from the 30s till now. Always works.
Well said.
But with that concludes our top 5 most impactful character rankings. This one was a blast. I had so much fun learning about your guys' characters. Didn't know what to expect going into it, and I'm really glad we were able to discuss this. So stay tuned as always for more content from Cinema 3D, and we will see you guys next time.